Yeah.
So we start with chapter 25 of Blanchard, which is issues and monetary policy. Now what this chapter will deal with is the objectives of monetary policy and the instruments of monetary policy, and apart from that it will talk about what is called a Taylor's rule, which will tell us how to achieve the objective. So prior to discussing the objectives of monetary policy, one should recall the impact of monetary policy on the economy, both in the short run and in the medium run. So we know that monetary policy impacts output, impacts inflation, and the specific impact in short and medium run can be seen in the following notes.
You send this on this thing.
So this shows the impact of monetary policy in the short run. So in short run, we know that an expansionary monetary policy leads to a decline in nominal interest rate and a decline in real interest rate, because recall that real interest rate is nominal interest rate minus expectations about inflation, and inflation expectations are constant in the short run. As a result of the decline in real interest rate, investment and consumption spending rises, because of which output rises, unemployment falls. If originally output was at natural rate of output, unemployment was at natural rate of unemployment, now output will become larger than Yn, U will become lower than Un. Also, from Phillips curve, remember that Phillips curve says pi t minus pi t is equal to minus alpha ut minus un. If pi et was equal to pi t minus 1, then Phillips curve becomes pi t minus 1 is equal to minus alpha ut minus un, which means that when unemployment becomes lower than natural, inflation rises above last year's inflation. Or in other words, there is a trade-off between inflation and unemployment. For the open economy, a rise in inflation would lead to an increase in nominal exchange rate and therefore a depreciation of the home currency. Now, we look at the impact of monetary policy in the medium run. In the medium run, money is neutral. Of course, if expectations are rational and policy is credible, money would have been neutral in the short run as well. So in the long run, with an increase in money supply and a rise in inflation, expectations get revised, wages increase, and there is a higher inflation, and output comes back to natural. From Phillips curve, if pi t is equal to pi t minus 1, pi t becomes equal to pi t minus 1 and ut becomes equal to un. For an open economy, nominal exchange rate rises or home currency depreciates, but real exchange rate remains the same. So now, if you look at the objectives of a central banker or objectives of monetary policy, in the short run, an expansionary monetary policy can increase output and a contractionary monetary policy can reduce inflation. In the medium run, a contractionary monetary policy can be used to reduce inflation. However, we also know that in the short term there is a trade-off between inflation and unemployment, and the cost of disinflation or reducing inflation can be measured by sacrifice ratio. We also know that monetary policy becomes ineffective in case of a liquidity trap. So in the type notes which I had sent, we saw that there is a great uncertainty regarding the impact of any policy, including monetary policy, which is what is discussed in chapter 24 of Blanchard. Now, most central banks use monetary policy to fulfill the following two objectives. A, to achieve what is called an optimal rate of inflation in the medium run, and B, to reduce fluctuations of output in the short run. So the question that comes up is, what is an optimal rate of inflation? Optimal rate of inflation is some low but positive inflation rate, generally between 2 to 3%. The question becomes, why should that positive rate of inflation be aimed towards rather than zero inflation rate? For that, we have to look at the benefits resulting from positive rate of inflation. So then we will discuss the costs and benefits of inflation.